Hey everyone, Phoebe Rizzo here. Big shout out to the Void, and thank you for listening. Well, in the course of the many years that I've been collecting films and watching way more movies than is probably healthy, I've gotten to the point where not all of them stick with me much anymore. And this show has given me kind of an excuse to go back, revisit some that I've only seen a handful of times, or in the case of today's movie, only have seen once. Now, some of these movies go in one ear, right out the other. Today's movie almost did that. However, where this one goes in the third act kind of takes such a turn that that part always did stick with me. Rest of the movie, I couldn't remember a thing about it. So, good enough reason to take another look and talk about The Pyramid. Okay, so, The Pyramid is it's almost a found footage movie. It pretends to be a found footage movie and seems like a found footage movie at times until it gives up on that. So, this movie is set in 2013. There's some civil unrest in Cairo about the time a new pyramid is found. Now, notably, all Egyptian pyramids have 4 sides. This one's different because it only has 3 sides, marking it as a unique and a big deal of a discovery. We have a team of archaeologists, as well as a documentary crew following the archaeologists as they make their discovery. However, they get the call that the unrest is getting too much, they have to pull out, so between being now or never, they decide to investigate the pyramid. They send their little robo-drone in, but then something happens, knocking it offline. With how expensive this drone is, they can't just leave it there, so a crew of 5, then 2 archaeologists, 1 techie who owns the drone or has borrowed it, and with a price tag of $3 million, he really wants to recover it, and the 2 documentarians. In they go, and out they don't go so easy, as could be expected with the type of movie. Now, I mentioned found footage, so you got the documentary crew. We see a lot through their cameras. We got the archaeologists. We see a lot through their drone and through their own little headset cameras. Okay, cool. But in the beginning, I realized something was amiss when they mentioned that they use a lot of satellite technology, and then it cuts to a shot of the satellite in space. Alright, weird. I mean, no one's obviously out there filming that, but okay, back to the camera crews as they document each other. Then they get into the pyramid. And suddenly, when things really start going wrong, when the floor collapses on them. As the floor starts to collapse, the camera cuts to an above shot. No one can film that. And poof, down they go. And every so often from there on, mostly still through their cameras, except for when they want to get some cool shots of them from a distance in the dark, for the camera's obviously way in the dark, filming them from afar, or if they're shooting from above, or from angles that people couldn't be in. This is not found footage. It's pretending to be, and it sort of was marketed as. So it's half, I guess? I mean, they even do the whole, at the beginning, the whole opening shot like a trailer, where it's like going over civil unrest in Cairo, a new discovery, just with text on screen here. This is all the footage that was found of this expedition. Pardon me? So it's almost found footage. Okay, so the movie itself is largely a run-of-the-mill people trapped, pursued by things in the pyramid, and are trying to escape. Pretty basic. So, this film is directed by Gregory Lesueur. If you've never heard of Gregory Lesueur, that's probably because this is the only movie he's directed. He's better known for, up here in the tagline, from the producer, Alexandre Aja. If you remember, he was one who is the director of Crawl. And I mentioned in that review some of his others, Hot Tension, Hills Have Eyes, Piranha. Okay, So he's got some street cred. This one, this is the writer of almost all of those movies. I think actually is the writer of all of those movies, or at least the co-writer. So, how is he at directing? Ain't bad. I mean, the movie is... the production quality on most of it is adequate to good. So, the director's fine, but they're definitely trying to ride the coattails of Alexandre. But there's some other production issues here. Heck, we could even start right here. The trailer and the cover here make it look like a big undead to-do. There ain't no undead in this film. This guy here, he ain't in it. I mean, they find some corpses in the pyramid. Sure, that might look like that. But that guy ain't in there. Okay. So, the characters themselves aren't bad. You got the father-daughter archaeologist team, and the documentary crew, and the techie. The issue I have is with the father-daughter duo. They squabble and squabble. Particularly with the older father, who's more of a traditionalist, while she's more embracing the technology. He is really grating through most of this with his know-everything attitude, particularly when everything starts going wrong, he starts getting more intolerable. So the characters, some of them you do feel for, particularly his daughter, Nora. She's fine. The two documentary crews, they've got some charisma to them. So the characters aren't too bad. So, things this movie does well, so some of the traps within the pyramid are cool and well done. And, well, the claustrophobic-ass area of the pyramid does lend well to some tight space and interesting shots. So, that's all done well. Now, what isn't done well. And at the end of this section, I'm probably going to get into some spoiler territory, so heads up on there. It's not coming just yet, but to talk about this movie, we're going to have to talk about it. There's really no way to discuss why this movie is memorable to me without talking about that. Now, things that are not quite so good. Holy CG. As they get into the pyramid, one of the first things they begin encountering are Sphinx cats, little hairless rat-like cats, that run about the pyramid and occasionally make themselves nuisances. These are the things that destroy their drone. They are very CG. And as some of the wounds that get thrown on people are also very CG, it becomes noticeable. And I alluded to a monster in the pyramid that is entirely CG and not that convincing a CG either. So that's not so good. This film also has a bit of a problem, in addition to the whole can't decide if it's found footage or not. With sort of an escalation, it throws everything at you. So, they're trapped in the pyramid. That's bad. There's traps in the pyramid, and the pyramid is built like a labyrinth. Okay, that's worse. You could just make a movie just on that, and it could have been good. Then you throw in these cat-like creatures running around. How are they there? They figure they've been eating each other. The proof is they maybe have been eating each other, and that's been their food source, but where are they getting water? Are the cats undead? They don't really go into that much. Okay, so you add the cats to the mix. And you add the monster, which is stalking them, and you only get little glimpses here or there of something pulling people into the darkness. Okay, so they got that to deal with. Oh, don't forget that they have to be out by tomorrow, otherwise all the crew is leaving because of the civil unrest, so that's emphasized. And the air is probably toxic, and they start getting lesions and wounds and have clearly some sort of disease going on there, so everything is happening all at once. And the disease thing, they talk about it, and they show some signs of it, but they don't really emphasize it much to the point where you could take it out and you lose nothing. They just throw everything at you, so it doesn't leave as much of an impact. You really could have just gone with the non-supernatural aspect, or even just being trapped in the pyramid with the monster, and you would have been fine. It's too much. It's too much. It takes away from the impact of everything else. Okay, so here we get into the crux of why I remember this movie. It's not necessarily a good thing. I mean, if it has been done well, maybe. But as it stands, okay. So, this guy on the cover, he ain't in there. What is chasing them through the pyramid? Anubis. I am not joking. Apparently, this pyramid was built to imprison one of their gods. After his father, Osiris, ascended to heaven, he was stuck here and became corrupted, so he had to be imprisoned, and he's trying to find a pure human heart to eat so he can ascend to heavens. And while there are some interesting things that they do with having him dragging people off in order to rip out their hearts and weigh them, all Egyptian mythology, neat, you still have to deal with this fucking Anubis that's running around this pyramid chasing people. Excuse me? It's a weird take on it. And I definitely remember when I first saw it, I was like, wait, what? But reducing the Egyptian god of the Judgment of the Dead to a hulking monster skulking around, growling in the darkness, maybe not have been the best way to go. I mean, that's an interesting take, that their god was in fact not so benign and they had to lock him away, is interesting, but they develop it so lightly that what could have been interesting if they did it right, it's really taken away by how they handle it, particularly with the dodgy CG on Big Anubis himself. So yes, they have to run from Anubis, as well as a bunch of cats. Not the greatest, but it could have been a lot worse, so... Alright. Hello, cat. Remembering the Egyptians thought you were a god, don't you? Yeah, hi. Anyway, I say cat, she comes, I guess. You good? No, it's good to be on camera now. Since you're making it a point to. Okay, so you got Anubis, you got some cats that may or not be undead, chasing people through the pyramid. With the traps, with the poisonous air, with the timeline, and... Now, is this movie good? It's not terrible, it's just run-of-the-mill. Is it better than the other Egyptian-related movie sort of Egyptian-related movie I watched earlier back in October, The Mummy? That's a good question. The Mummy, if I recall, I gave a low 3. This one, it's not bad, but it's unfocused. It throws everything at the camera just to see what sticks. The CG is not good. So in terms of CG matchup between this and The Mummy wins. In terms of pacing, this movie, it isn't tight enough. It's, at the same time, slowly working through the pyramid while having a time crunch. The Mummy wins again. And if you're losing to The Mummy, you have problems. And The Mummy, while trying to force the multiverse thing, at least stuck to what it was trying to be. This one couldn't even stick to being found footage. I'm giving this one a 2. A high 2, but a 2. 2 MacGuffins. So The Mummy beats The Pyramid. I do sort of have a soft spot for run-of-the-mill throwaway horror films, so it's not unenjoyable, but it's nothing special. Alright, that's it for this one. I'll probably be back again in a few days. I'm not sure if I'm going to do streaming service roulette or just grabbing another one that I've been meaning to watch again, but we'll see when it comes. Thanks for tuning in, and hope to see you again.